Hello there, this is kind of strange making a video without seeing my face. But I'm making this video for one of my dear friends, and you know who you are. And you had requested, how do I string, after I string all the beads for a mala, how do I tie the knots? This is gonna be my first video like this where the camera's kind of suspended on this arm. It's kind of in the way, so we'll see how this goes. Hopefully there's not too much camera movement. We'll see what I can do. First, I have to give the shout out to this brand. So if you can see, it says Scanfil, Seanfil, and they used to say on them, made in the Netherlands, but now it says E.U, which is still, it's still that same place. But yeah, this brand is so amazing. It's all organic cotton. And I don't know how the color shows up on the camera, but it's like a hot pink, and it comes in dozens of colors, this brand. It's so amazing. These beads I'm using, they're clear, they're transparent, not clear, and they're almost identical to that, like a Moldavite color. Obviously they're not Moldavite because they have no striations, and they're just perfectly clear, like transparent, like there's no inclusions of any kind. But I just love how they look, and so these beads have a 1 mm hole. Just to give you the idea of the thickness of the string, these beads have a 1 mm hole, and I can fit 16 strands, which is what I've done here, and very comfortably. Like they can still, it's not like super tight, but at the same time, it stays pretty stationary too. That's like just perfect how I like it. And then the what's called the guru bead at the end, like traditionally malas have 108 beads, and then they're usually accompanied by a guru bead, which fortunately the hole in this one is slightly bigger, if not like double the size maybe, of these beads, which is perfect because both ends, after I'm done, when these strands come together, all of that string is going to go through this one hole and then tie a knot. So let's get started. So on one end of this string is like I have a little metal wire, and that's what I use to string all these beads through. So that has that loop of string. And what I usually do is I start at the other side when I'm stringing. So this is like, will be all the loose end, right? So I'll leave however much space, because I'm gonna probably tie one knot on this side, right? And then that guru bead is gonna go here. So, and depending on if you're gonna wanna make a tassel or, you know, whatever, you're gonna wanna leave a little bit extra string, like whatever you wanna do. But I mean, I would say at least like one hand, right? One hand's width of string I would leave out, just to be on the safe side. All right, so the first knot, see, I'll try to hold it against the bead like that. I don't know if that's too visible. Like that. And then over the top and through. And whenever I'm tying a knot, I try to push against the bead, right? Like make sure the string don't go on the other side of it, but hold it and be pulling it at the same time. That usually keeps it pretty taut. And the reason for this is a lot of kind of string, especially cotton. You might not experience this with like polyester or nylon, but with cotton, of course, it's going to stretch. So you're going to want to push almost like a pinch, right? As close as you can against the bead. Because cotton does, like I said, cotton does stretch. So now if it was like linen, pure linen, you probably wouldn't have to worry about that. That doesn't give hardly at all. But cotton, yeah, you want to keep it tight. So then we're going to tie a knot on the other side. So again, make a loop. And then go over the top with the bead into the hole. Right, and then, oh, sorry, hit the camera. Okay, now with that same, see, I'm holding the loop with one finger, and I'm staying against the bead, making sure it's against like that. And then as I'm getting real close to the end here, I'll hold it with my thumb. So I'm sure that the knot is going to stay against the bead. And then pull. And then when that's on there, and then I'll use my thumbnail and I'll push against it a little bit as I'm pulling with my other 3 fingers. And that usually keeps it pretty taut. That's pretty nice. Yeah, if you've got like a loose space, then you probably just need to start being a little more careful until you get the hang of it. But I just really like doing this stuff. It's endlessly fun to me, and I can sit here for hours and not get tired. That's, you can tell when you really enjoy something, is if you can sit for long periods of time and it's just, you don't get tired of it. That's how you can tell when it's like, it's just something you love to do. Okay, so I moved the next bead down. So I got all the beads like pretty much in the middle of that strand right now. So, okay, so I pulled the next bead down and pushed it against that knot, and then make a loop. And now I'm bringing both of those beads over. So every time you do this, you're taking all the beads that you already knotted over the top and into the loop, excuse me. And make sure the bead is pressed up against the knot. And then use your pointer finger or whichever one, to hold this loop as you're pulling it closer towards the bead to make the next knot. And then as you're getting close, put your thumb over that bead and then let go of your pointer finger and then pull. This is the best way that I found for me, and then use your thumbnail again to push against that knot to tighten it the rest of the way. This is the best way that I have found. And I love mallas, and I've been to India a couple times, and all the mallas that I've seen, I haven't really ever talked to. So we're getting the next bead now, and I've never really talked to anyone how they do it, or if there's a traditional way that they usually make mallas. This is the best way so far that I've been able to find, and all these years I've been knotting beads. This seems to be the most effective way. The only thing that might hinder your progress is if you have beads that the hole is like really scratchy or something like that. So you'll just want to, like what I do is I wax the cotton so it doesn't break while I'm doing this, because that can happen, especially as you're going on. You pulling this string through this loop every time, part of the string may get kind of frayed, kind of worn down. So it's really good to wax. I only started doing that, I think, this past year, is waxing the string, but my gosh, the difference it makes. It's so great. And see, so you already can tell what it's going to look like when it's finished, because it's pretty uniform. And when you twist it, though, you can see how it kind of moves up and down like that. If you just, when you're all done with it, you can pull a little bit too, and that does straighten out a little bit. But there's always, little imperfections like that. But it's a handmade piece, so imperfections are welcome, because you're having fun doing it. So there's no such thing as it's, you doing something wrong. So I just took the next bead, always remember to push against that knot, and then make a loop on this side that doesn't have a knot yet. And then all 4 of these beads, you'll go over the top and through the loop you just made. And go ahead and pull on the loop, making sure you're staying close to that bead. And be as gentle as you can with this, but just firm enough to make sure that all the strings are together. There isn't like one string like frayed out. Just make sure you're pulling it and it's all uniform. And then put your thumb against the bead, and then release the loop, and then pull the string into place. And there's that. It's number 4. I just really like these colors. This hot pink and this green. It's I would have preferred probably more of like a that color of the grass when it just starts growing, that yellow green, just because spring is in the air, and it's just, Mother Nature's always just so inspiring. We have these tulips out front right now, and the leaves are kind of a bluish green color, and they're not even half a foot tall. And the tulips are blossoming. I was telling my mom, I said they look so fake. Like they're beautiful, but it looks so animated, and they're like the flowers are like a pink and a yellow. They're so beautiful, and we all need that, right? We all need renewal. We need a fresh start, and what better way than Mother Nature giving us these vibrant colors to look at? It's almost like a hope, right? That um, there is a future for us. There is a possibility out there, and it's so refreshing. Um, like I said, I am making this video for one of my friends. He requested. He finally got a hang of how to string all the beads and getting beads that'll have all the same hole size, which is also so super important, right? Because it's really hard to string and tie knots if one hole is really big in one bead and then the next one is super small, and that is difficult. Um, but yeah, this part he wasn't. I was trying to explain to him how I tie the knots in between each bead over the phone, and it just wasn't. Sometimes it's better just to have a visual. So I love doing this. I could talk endlessly about this stuff, and yeah, really like how this is coming out. I think I only have like 90 beads, so this isn't actually going to be a traditional mala. But that's fine. I'm doing it just for tutorial sake, even though I like this so much, I may end up wearing it myself. We'll see. I do have enough beads on, though. I probably don't need any more. This may get kind of monotonous. I would put music in the background, but that's probably on my to-do list of how to edit videos and how to. So as of right now, this is just this is just me and you. No music. And yeah, I'm probably just gonna start. I don't know how to fast forward videos, or I would shorten this for you guys, but I just like taking my time, and I like. Actually, this quiet is kind of nice. At the end of the workday, and you come home, and it's just so nice to have, that quiet time. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I do plan on doing that, planning on learning how to edit videos and add music. That would be cool. So yeah, like I said, a traditional mala that I know of, that I've seen, they usually have 108 beads, and I've heard various reasons why that is, and the main one I keep getting is that there's 108 names of Shiva. And as you're not surprised, I'm bringing up Shiva in one of my videos. As you can tell, I have the Trishul and Damaru on my hand. He's just been an influence that's always been in my life. And I could share videos about some of my stories too, of that journey that I've had, which has been very interesting. And yeah, let me know if anyone wants to. I have a lot of different kinds of art projects I like to do. Making malas are my favorite. Actually, drawing yantras is also another favorite one. This is one that was totally. I got a lot of the angles. Need some help. I'll just say that. But yeah, that's another project too. That's so much fun too, and There's something meditative about, um, I think I've experienced that since I was probably 12, just drawing. There's something magical about drawing geometric shapes. And they don't even have to, obviously, there's a lot of yantras, which is, that comes from Hinduism as well. It's rooted in that, I should say. Uh, there's even a specific yantra for specific deities, and that's beautiful and all. But even back when I was, a teenager drawing those, they don't necessarily have to. You may just enjoy specific shapes together and specific, and they don't have to mean anything. It's just such an intricate meditation, especially with the Sri Yantra right there, because it has such the triangles. There's something magic about, I don't, well, I guess circles and triangles, those both kind of, it just seems like, obviously you're drawing it on a two-dimensional sheet of paper, but it just has such a powerful, it feels like it has more dimension than it does, if that makes sense. Okay, I should slow down and see. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing here. Okay, let's see. That still looks pretty good. There isn't much, I can't see any spaces where there's just string showing. If there is, it's just a knot, which is perfect. And I'm really liking how that looks together. It's a pale green. I don't know how well you can see that. And some hot pink. I like that. Yeah, and this guru bead, let's see if I can focus on that. It's an orange color. It looks like, carnelian or an agate, something like that. Put that right there. And which I love carnelian. It's an interesting stone, the lore to carnelian, which I guess you can, like carnelian and agate, they can have the same exact colors sometimes. I mean, often carnelian is heat treated to bring out that, that rich orange color, because a lot of carnelians can be like a translucent or like clear color, and have like spots of orange. I've seen that. But the main difference you can tell between carnelians and agates, the carnelians do have on the Mohs scale, they are the hardness scale of stones, like a diamond being a 10 and like talc being 1. Carnelian isn't as strong as agate. Agate is, I think, the same as like a jasper. I think it's like a 7. And then carnelian is, I can't remember, between a 3 and a 5, I think. Probably closer to a 5. But carnelian is such an interesting stone, which this might be because I don't see those stripes, the banding that agates usually have. So this is probably carnelian, unless it's glass. I'm not sure. I got it in a mixed bag of like wood, glass, and gemstone beads. Because gemstone junkie, I get so many different things. That it is at least, I know it's not plastic because you can do that a few tests to see if it's, you can put it against your tooth, or there's different ways. But it's definitely not plastic, which I'm happy about. It's cool to the touch. That's another way you can tell it's not plastic. But it's probably carnelian. And there is interesting lore behind carnelian. One of my spiritual teachers told me, because I was asking him, it's like, well, I like making malas as gifts. And, oh, I keep hitting this. Okay, there. Is there specific gemstones or types of wood beads that you would recommend that would best help other people or help? And he said something very interesting, and I hadn't really thought of this before. He said, well, wood, anything made out of wood kind of holds the energy of, it holds vibration, sound. So specifically, if you have wood beads and you chant a specific mantra, it can be what is called charged or energized. So if you do buy a mala and it says it's charged or energized, that's supposed to be what it means. That's what I've heard, is that they've recited a specific mantra to imbue that either a specific deity or those energies, so you can manifest those energies in your life, whether it's abundance or um, whatever, healthy relationships. But if they're he said if it's gemstone beads, that's something separate because it has a structure to it. It has its own energy. So basically, you have to request. If what you could do is request the stones to work with a specific person that is, maybe if you know something about them, like they're dealing with something specific in their life, and you can request um, the gemstone mala that you're making to help this person in the best ways uh, for them, right? To help them out in their lives. I think that's wonderful. And, I think even if, for those that are skeptical of that, and even if it's, because I have no way of proving that, even if you don't think it's necessarily a science, think about it this way. If someone's going to the trouble of doing that, even that alone, just because they did that for you and there's almost a kind of a felt sense when you get that gift that you can feel that someone put their energy into something. Of course, sometimes just receiving anything at all from someone that you care about is amazing too. But there's an energy too sometimes that you can really pick up on when, wow, someone really, gave it their all to prepare something beautiful and then to give it to me. I'm like, it's the most amazing thing. Um, yeah, I'm really picky about, as you can tell, stringing materials too, because this is organic and cotton. I love that. And I try to avoid plastics and avoid, well, anything that's, I guess, nylon is made out of plastic too, right? There's many different names for it. So um, it is a funny thing though, because so many nylon and different kinds of stringing materials are highly durable. So it's a funny thing. I was reading up on different, because I have some linen string, which is also strong. It has no give. So if you do find a nice smooth linen cord, um, you can obviously use it just the same as you would the cotton, but it has no give. So it would, in that sense, that your piece would never get warped. Like it would never get stretched out of shape, which is beautiful, right? It would always look the same. Um, and there are other things too. I've heard there's bamboo string. I personally have never worked with that. I'm trying to think what else. Hemp, of course. If you can find good long pieces of hemp to do something like this that are consistent, because oftentimes in hemp, there'll be knots or there'll be parts of breakage. But overall, though, hemp is one of the strongest materials that you can use. It's stronger than linen, it's stronger than cotton, but it can have inconsistencies in it. So it would be best to, really know your brands, but also look at what they're selling. Because you can find like really highly polished, like 1 or 1.5 millimeter hemp cord too that's really nice. But of course, now that I found out about waxing, I would recommend waxing, like getting some kind of I don't know what you want to use. There's so many different kinds of oils. There's also, just clumps of beeswax that you can use to string. But I have this one and it's really firm. It has calendula wax in it and a few other things. Originally, I think it's designed to be like a mustache wax or whatever. Like it's a really firm, but it's actually works really good. to coat string. So actually, that would be my question for y'all. Anyone watching this video and you have recommendations for something to coat string with, it would be more than welcome. You know, this, I don't know how this video is going to turn out because I keep moving this. I promise you there's no earthquake happening over here. It's just I'm going to work on this setup. This arm that the camera's on is kind of in the way. So I'll work on that. So I promise if you continue watching my videos, I'm going to work on this. So this does not keep happening. This is but hey, this is an experiment for me. So it's the first time I'm doing it this way. Let's see. Yeah, I've been making jewelry for a long time now. I remember starting to talk in a quieter voice. I could make this into an ASMR video, I suppose. That would be kind of fun. Just making a soothing video. Make it like all Bob Ross style. That would be cool. Yeah, I remember the first thing I ever made was like friendship bracelets, I think. I was probably, oh God, this is probably like 1991. So I was probably like 12. And I saw my sister and she made this awesome like striped friendship bracelet. Kind of looks like these blue stripes right here, but like, you know, that long strip. And I'm like, wow, how did you do that? And she was kind of reluctant. And my mom kind of overheard our, you know, our quarrel. And she was finally, my mom was insistent, hey, you need to show him how to. And that kind of opened a can of worms for me. Over the next few years, I got some beads, I started stringing stuff, and I'm like, whoa, I just found a new like hobby that, and which is fine. I was pretty much a homebody when I was a kid anyway, so it was just a fun activity to do. And yeah, I'm trying to think of my friend I'm making this video for. Hopefully he's not yelling right now going, slow down, I need to see what you're doing. This lighting too, I think I have the outside light coming in because it's like 2:30 in the afternoon, but I think next time I'm going to put probably a light behind me and maybe one to the side because there's a lot of shadow right there. I'm going to probably rewatch this video too. I don't know how this, my face is probably like 6 inches away from the mic, so it's probably a little bit loud. I'm not sure. Like I said though, this is an experiment. This is no no filter, no nothing, because to be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. It's the first time, not my first video, but my first I guess tutorial type thing. Okay, stop a minute, see where we're at. I hope my friend is making a mala along with me while I'm making this video. That would be cool. Oh man. All right. It looks pretty good. Keep going. About halfway done. Let's see. This is like pretty much one of my favorite times of day. You know, I've done my work day and it's kind of always just feels like the weekend, you know. It's that time where, okay, I did some of my chores, made my dinner already because I eat pretty early, and now it's just that few hours, you know, at the end of the day, and it's like, oh, I can do anything. Like, what should I do? And I have so many projects. I have all the stuff to make about 2 or 3 full-size quilts, which have just been sitting in my cedar chest for a couple of years now. And I always go back to beads though. I think I'm just more passionate about that. And the idea of making a quilt is so exciting, which I've cut some of the squares for that of like just solid colors. And I bought a few patterns as well of fabric that have, design on them too. But I just in love with beads, doing Ajapajapa, which is like the internal chanting where you don't like chant the mantra out loud, but just something that you have as an affirmation that you're internally, you know, vibrating with your that frequency. You're just vibrating with it, your whole being, and it's just such a peaceful. Because in a way, in a certain way, anything, a mantra or an affirmation, something that resonates with you, it in a way it almost doesn't matter what it is. There's like a transcendent experience that you can have just from simply sitting and, you know, doing something repetitive. And that can be something like this too. Um, there's just so much magic and peace in that. There's, a lot of chaos that I'm sure we all experience on any given day, but it's like what brings you back to your center, right? What makes you feel, I suppose, sane again, if that's an appropriate word. Um, a lot of times when I sit and meditate and one of the best experiences I think I've had is you may have some profound experience, you may not, whatever, when you meditate. You may just get some great peace, added peace to your life. That's great too. But I think one of the neatest experiences for me is that after my spiritual practice in the morning or, something I've experienced in the afternoon, to get to a place where I haven't necessarily came to any conclusion about what I've experiencing or about myself, but just being when I'm in a space of wonder, about like um, all the things I've experienced. What is the source of that? Like, what is really possible for life? What is, that space of it feels like there's an just, boundless infinity out there, and just to always be in that space, that wonder of, okay, if anything's possible, then where do I fit in with that? Just any kind of questions, along those lines of, the what are they called? Those questions that can't really be answered, that you really don't want anyone to answer, but it's just so much magic is in your life when you're just in that state of like innocent questioning, you know. Um, that's yeah. I don't know. I'd be curious too. Anyone has because this is such a meditative process, and I usually listen to music or some kind of kirtan or mantras when I'm doing these. And this is a very curious space. I think this is one of the first times I've just spent in silence in quite a while, and it's quite nice. So this is another question I have for y'all. Anyone watching this? When is the last time that you were able to sit and experience silence? Like, and you were aware of the silence, enough to appreciate it. It could just be while you're driving home. A lot of people are in a relationship or have kids. I don't have either of those, so I mean, I have at least a couple hours in the afternoon where I can do arts and crafts or I can do anything that I want to. But even in that space, I often take for granted the fact that I could just be enjoying the silence. I know so many people that they never get a moment of silence, I don't think, other than maybe when they go to the bathroom, if then. So It's just take it when it comes. One of my spiritual teachers, she told me that, people that are in chronic pain, often they forget that within that, there's always moments when there is no pain, right? When they don't experience any pain. My mom said that the other day. Or it was actually a while ago now, maybe a few months. She said she was walking to the mail because she has experience in chronic pain. Hopefully she doesn't mind me divulging this here. And she came back and she had this, shocked look on her face. She's like, I did not feel any pain that whole time I was walking to the mailbox. And I was like ecstatic, happy for her, of course. But it's just, I think it's the same with silence. I work in a superstore, and even though I do a lot of my work in an office, it's still, you still have the intercom calling for assistance to this department, or you have, you know, um, the satellite station music playing. So there's always some kind of background noise. Sometimes it's it's a lot of noise sometimes, and so even though I'm back there, I can be totally distracted, and I could step outside for a moment for a break, and it's just like feel fresh and alive because it rains a lot where I live. So um, that's so nice to be able to get outside, and that alone, even though nature is vibrantly alive, you often hear birds. Even in that, I would still consider that just as great as silence. Just hearing a few birds flying by, and oh, yeah, it's wonderful. Um, so I have started to do that again. Start getting outside a little bit more right when I get home from work. I usually start my day that way. I'll go and put my feet in the dirt, for my feet and my hands in the dirt. Pick a little sprig of rosemary, put it in my tea. Hell, I'll even chew on a little piece while I'm out there and spit it out, but just for the taste. But it's just that's some kind of an interaction with nature. It's I was blessed. I grew up, from the time I was born till I was at least 10. We lived with orchards in our backyard. It was great. We had plum trees, pomegranate trees, um, olive trees on another part of the property. It was a little further away, but yeah, it was all there. And gosh, so blessed to just walk out there, and especially on the weekends as a kid. It was the '80s. My mom's like, just be back by dark. Um, before dark. Yeah, that was the. And there was never anyone out there in the fields. It was just us. Sometimes there were, turkeys because our neighbor behind us had turkeys. But it was just such a, And now, I'm like hardly in nature at all. I'm either in an office or at home, and it's so easy to be distracted, especially by the cell phone. And I'm starting to hear the call, finally to, hey, I hear Mother Nature's very sweetly going, I'm right out here. It's a beautiful day. You could be spending it with me. I hear that now, not in words, of course, but, I feel that. It's like she's calling you. So, yeah, hope to do that soon. Well, let's check in. Okay, looks okay. All right. And like I said, this isn't a full mala, but it is, I think these are like maybe 6 millimeter beads. Um, that's another thing too, I should say. Uh, so when I'm in love with Rudraksha beads, and I love lapis. you know, the lapis blue, that blue color, those royal blue, those beads. There's so many different kinds of beads that I like, and so I started trying to make them in bulk, and the plan is probably uh, I might start selling those. This isn't really a video to promote that, but I might as well talk about something. I don't want to just sit here and have you guys watch this with no no music or anything going on in the background. What I found best, I mean, some people like really huge beads, some people like smaller beads, but malas, the way they're traditionally made, they don't have a clasp, right? They're tied together at the end, and I'll show you if you've never seen one. I'll do that at the end, and but there's usually no clasp, so you just have to go over the head, unless it's something you're gonna like double or triple on your wrists or keep in your pocket or whatever you want to do. But so with knowing that, you kind of have to pick beads that are, you know, if you're gonna do the traditional 108 beads, you don't have to. But if you want to do it that way and are inspired to do that, you know, it would be, and you're going to use all the same size beads, I would use at least 5 millimeter. You don't have to tie knots in between them. I've seen a lot of people that don't. I won't get too much into that, but so if you are going to tie a knot in between them, though, I would use 5 millimeter because that'll make it probably around what, like 23 inches long, which that's going to fit over most people's heads. I have a huge head. I even went to like you know, there's different sizes of hats, like the circumference of your head, and mine's like the size of my hat is like 7 3/4, which is like one of the biggest sizes you can get of a hat. And if it fits over my head, chances are the general population are going to be able to use that size if I sell it. So if I do open a store, I'm probably going to use 5 millimeter beads because I have thousands of Rudraksha beads that are 5 millimeter. And I was going to use coconut shell spacer beads in between those because I have a lot of those too. I just love Rudraksha, like their bumpy texture, and it's a seed pod basically, kind of like how a peach pit is. So they are grown. They're just such interesting beads. I guess I could make a separate Rudraksha video because there's a lot of information and neat stories about those, and that can be a separate. Actually, these beads, it's funny. I actually bought these beads. I won't say where or from who, because I don't think they have these listed on there anymore. And they said that these were Moldavite beads, and they were selling them for $1 a piece. 6 millimeter beads, and there's 90 of them. So I spent $90 on these. But more than likely, these are not real. They're not plastic because they're cool to the touch. So they're at least glass, which actually Moldavite is, you know, kind of a meteorite impact glass. But they usually have little lines in them, and they have little pieces of, you know, sand or other kinds of materials that were in the area at the site of the crash and all that, or the impact. So these are like perfectly transparent, perfectly. So it is highly unlikely that these are actual Moldavite. However, if they are fake, they got the color down, like the color is perfect because I have some real Moldavite beads from a verified seller of Moldavite, and if you really look up at the light, you can't see in here, but if you really look directly into the light from outside, the natural light, near the less dense parts, it'll be kind of a yellow color, and then there'll be that olive green color that these are. And I looked up the piece of real Moldavite, and these have those two exact same shades. So if these are fake, they matched the color like perfectly. But yeah, if this quality of Moldavite, if these were real, I can't imagine how much money they would be. Which I actually don't mind anymore because they're just so beautiful, and I think I've had them sitting in a box in my arts and craft supplies for over a year. I'm actually happy to put these to good use. So if you're watching this video, why don't you post where you're watching this from? I am in Eugene, Oregon, and I've been here for. We moved here in '99, so it was I think July of '99, '99, 2019. July of 2019 we moved here. I think, was it? No, that's not right. July of 2018, I moved to Grants Pass, Oregon. That was my, first time living outside of California in my, all my 38 years, besides a um, couple of months I spent in India. But other than that, and another month probably for some other travels altogether. But yeah, that was it's a different world up here in Oregon. It's different than California. Um, there seems to be, I don't know, ratio wise from town to wilderness. It seems like there's a lot more wilderness in Oregon, but California does have a lot of national parks too. So, um, but it's just Oregon just has very odd things, and it's very. I know it's and some really neat things too. Like I know there, if you're into gemstones, uh, major deposits of sunstones are here, which it's a very interesting stone too. It's a form of feldspar, the same as moonstone, but as of course moonstone, as you know, is if you know it's it can be like really light colors, dark colors, like whites and near blacks. It can have rainbow effect in it. If it's labradorite or spectrolite or rainbow moonstone, those are all feldspar, including sunstone. And it's a sunstone just has, more of that orange glow, whereas moonstone has more of that grayish, hence moonstone color. So the moon effect, I gotta adjust a little bit here, right there. And it is a really interesting place, Oregon. I really like it here. It is, Mother Nature is very alive up here. My hometown was kind of turning to dust because of the drought, and it was so refreshing moving to Oregon. It's so green up here. It is scary though because there's so much, wilderness and forest that we do get forest fires, which is very terrifying. If you live in Oregon or Colorado or any state where there's a large amount of forest, I guess that's bound to happen. I keep hitting this arm. I'm almost done, you guys, I swear. um, yeah, so let me know what country or what states you guys are in. Almost done here. I really hope my friend that's watching this, I'll keep you anonymous. Because you already know who you are. I don't need to tell you. But I really hope that you can see. I didn't realize until after I started making this video the shadow that's on this side. Obviously the light coming in is great, but this behind me is too dark. I should probably watch some tutorials on lighting for videos. I don't like direct overhead lighting, so I didn't use that, but side lights would be good. One behind me, and then definitely one to the side here. I would probably do like 3, one here, this light, and then one behind me. Maybe I'll try that next time. And try to reposition this arm a different way. I am sorry, you guys. I keep bumping into this arm here. But this is the last bead. So we strung all of those. So this last bead, actually to make it easier, you could just go this way. So you don't have to pull all of those beads through the whole, that loop that we've been doing. So just make sure this bead is taut against the knot. And make a loop right against, so you're making like a cross right there. Hold it with 2 fingers or your thumb and a finger, and bring the string over the top and down through the loop. And this gets tricky, so you'll hold like with 1 finger or thumb, hold the loop, and then pull the other side of the string so it's nice and taut. So you're making that T shape. And then somehow hold, wait, let me see. Yeah, pull it so the loop gets smaller. And then put your finger on top of the knot that's going to be forming. And then pull the rest of the loop. And you should get a pretty tight knot, like pretty much against the bead there. That looks good. So, and like I said, if you get some, like when you roll it, you can see it's, some beads will go up, some go down, like it's not a straight line. So you can pull on it just a little bit. Don't put too much pressure. Just enough to straighten it out a little bit. All right, now, okay, so the 2 ends will bring together. So each one of these, the last beads, each one will have that little knot. And then, so what I'm gonna do, move this over here. I'm gonna take out this wire, or you can just get another piece of wire. It'd probably be easier. This is gonna be kind of hard to, I'm trying to take this wire out so I can use it on the other side, because I want to take through this side first and put that through the bead, and then through the guru bead, and then put the looped, the side that has the loop on it, through it, because it's going to be easier to pull this through at the end. This side's going to be harder because it's going to be double the amount of string, whereas this is pretty, it's a lot flatter, and it's a lot more narrower. That's the word, narrow. There. I'm going to try to keep the loops separate though. There. Oh wait, there's one more. There. Okay. I'll try to keep that separate so I can put the wire back in there in a minute. Just leave that there. Okay. So now this side, this is the side with all the loose ends. Like some are cut, some are loops, but, or some are, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna put the wire through these. Now I'm lucky because this guru bead that I'm gonna use to finalize this mala, has a nice size hole. So now, whatever side of the bead, if it is a different shaped bead on one side than the other, the side that's narrower would probably look better. Well, you do what you want though. I mean, however you want it to look. If you want it to, you know, be in that drop shape like this one is, you could put it face up. I like it going narrower at the bottom. So I'm gonna put whichever side you want facing down like that, you want to put the string through that one last. So I'm gonna put the 2 pieces of the wire through the top. See, that's already kind of, yeah, see, that's really tight. And that's double. So it must be almost like 2 millimeters, because this was pretty tight, and it was, I mean, not tight, but that was 16 strings. And this is now 32 strings going through this, and it's really tight. So that's probably like 1.8 millimeters or 1.9 millimeters, something like that. Okay, so now the side that's looped, I'm going to take the wire through that. If I can find this. It's really fine wire. It's nice wire though. It was actually, after my grandpa passed, he had a, like a tackle box full of, because he took a jewelry making class, and he liked turquoise and, you know, silver. He made a few rings, I think. And this wire was in that collection, so I was blessed to get that. And it's the perfect for stringing stuff like this. You can actually find needles now that have that the eye of the needle actually has a little slit in it, like a little hook inside of it, so you can actually hook the string in and out of it. It's so cool. I think it was on firemountaingems.com. Um, that's not a plug. I'm not supported by them or get any kind of. um, I really like the selection that they have. So we're putting that string now through that same hole. And cross your fingers. See, and it's really easy. If I had done this, the one I'm doing right now first, and the other one, it would have been probably impossible to do because the hole was filled with those 32 strings that went through. So yeah, that works out perfect. So now we're just pulling them tight. And yeah, pull both strings through. Okay, so we got on one side, you got these green beads and a knot, green bead and a knot. So there's two knots, two small knots right there on top of that bead. So you can see that. I just really like how that looks. And so now when we're at the bottom, I like to tie two separate kinds of knots. You can just tie one knot and that's it. And even using a little bit of glue maybe. This isn't promoting Elmer's glue. I'm not, it's just a really good glue to use, but I'm not endorsed by them in any way. That's what I should say. Also, Fire Mountain Gems, I'm not endorsed by them. It's just a site I enjoy. And so gosh, I like how that looks. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to make a knot and then a knot over that knot, like a double knot. And then underneath that knot, I'll make a single knot. So if you're going to make a double knot, the first knot that you make, you should leave a little teeny bit of space. Like no more than probably the amount of space as the width of the knot that you're going to make. So you'll have a little bit of space and then this knot, right? So when you're making the first knot, oh shoot, make sure it's clean and there isn't. I used to have a cat and I used to have cat hair everywhere. No matter how clean I was, it would always get in stuff. But now this is just lint. Okay. So I'm going to make one loop. And again, I apologize about this lighting. I need to get some better lighting up in here. Okay, so there's one knot. So when you're pulling on this, before you get, carried away, just check the bead again. Make sure those two knots are flush against this bead, and then hold it so it doesn't move. And then, so this bottom, so I'm gonna make sure see how I'm leaving a little bit of gap. I wanna leave enough room that's the same width as this knot that I'm making because I wanna do a double one. It may seem kind of big, but I just really like how it looks when it's finished. So, okay, so there's one knot and there's, that little bit of space. Okay. Oh, the sun is coming out. We are blessed with Surya today. Thank you, Surya's blessings. And I'm going to make one more knot on top of this one, and this one will be flush against the bead. So again, we're doing this. I'm on the underside of the string, and then going over the top, pulling this through, and here we go. Just holding this bead and making sure we're flush right there with yes, okay. All right, there's that. Now with this large amount of string, the only drawback is, see, when I tie it, it's going to bulge on one side of it just because there's so many strands. Usually it doesn't do that, but it's because there's so many strands that I have. So yeah, just be aware of that if you don't like how that looks. You can try to press on it and move it a little bit. that can help, but it looks a little bit better. And then I'm just going to make one final knot on the bottom that's a little bit thinner. Wow, this has already been an hour video. Okay. I like to talk. Okay, one more loop. All right. And this will be the final knot. Just make sure, you know, just whenever you're tying these, especially if you're just starting to make these, just make sure you go slow, because when you're making knots, now it is possible to undo some knots that you've done, especially if you're working with something like cotton that's soft and it'll work with you. You know, you can just use a needle to try to untie the knot, but just go slow. Just go slow, and if you can tell that you're going to be tying the knot and it's not, the knot isn't going to land where you want it, that's okay. You can just start unraveling the knot before you pull it really tight. I hope that helps. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I personally don't like tassels, so I'm not going to make one. I could maybe in a separate tutorial have just a short tassel video, because this video is long. I don't make another long video. Want to keep your guys' attention. But I don't like tassels too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. It's pretty short. Probably like that. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the knot itself. Usually just the last knot usually needs it to keep it in place. Let's see. And then I'll hold this little teeny tassel, and I'll use the tip of my thumb to go over where the glue is and just spread the glue around. And there's that. And if I notice I got any on the bead, which I did, I'll wipe it off before it dries. And that's that. And again, this isn't a full mala. I think this is about 90 beads. I didn't really count this time. But yeah, oranges and greens I like. Pink, I love. I just love all colors. There's some kind of purpose for every color, right? Some use I have for every color. I always try to add some more color to my life, and I have. There it is. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed, and please feel free to ask any questions or anything. All right. You enjoy your day. All right. Nityanandam.